Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a retrospective on a closed back headphone that I talked about before, but I think I should give a little bit more attention to this time is the Audio-Technica WP900. So this retailed for $650 US, I think, and I talked about this one a bit before because I had a video comparing a bunch of Japanese wooden closed back headphones, and the WP900 was one of them, and in that video I talked about how the WP900 did sound pretty good for its size, and also for its price, I guess, but it's just sounded a little bit too boxy sounding, I guess, because of its small size maybe. And yeah, I had the opportunity to get this in a trade from a friend, and I listened to it some more, and actually I think this is probably one of the better tuned Audio-Technica headphones. And yes, it's still a little bit like kind of boxy sounding, but not too much, not that bad. So I take back some of what I said in that video. I think these are actually pretty great sounding headphones, especially for the size. Like, yeah, so the thing is, these are fairly portable. You know, for over-ear headphones, they're not that big. The ear cups are, yeah, they still got like the 50 millimeter dynamic drivers inside of them, but they're not like overly large like on their other models. So once you go up higher on the Audio-Technica chain, you'll find more esoteric tunings, generally speaking, and then the drivers are quite large and they use these massive ear cups. So I've used the AP2000 Ti's, I think, are fine, relatively speaking, because they are still sort of portable. But then you go up higher from that, you go to the AWAS and the AWKTs, and those are kind of really massive closed back headphones. Yes, they look really nice because the wooden backs and everything, but the ear cups are massive. They're not that comfortable to wear. Yeah, they're not really portable, and they have really weird tunings, I would say. Esoteric tunings is what I call it, because they're not for everyone. The AWKT is excessively harsh on the upper mid-range and bright, and the AP2000 Ti's are also kind of excessively bright for a lot of people. Treble is really pushed forward on those. AWAS is a little bit better tuned. Mid-range is a little bit more forward and neutral, but also a bit on the bright side. But the WP900 is probably the highest end Audio-Technica headphone that's probably, you know, probably going to satisfy most people in terms of its tuning. These are like $650. I know they're not like super high end when it comes to Audio-Technica. I mean, they make like $5,000 headphones. But in terms of like being a relatively expensive Audio-Technica headphone, these ones have more of a mainstreamist tuning. I would say this tuning comes close to Harman-ish. Not exactly Harman-ish, but close enough. And this has a good amount of bass. It's got elevated upper mid-range for sure, elevated treble as well. Can sound a little bit harsh or sibilant to some people, but overall, I say most people will enjoy this headphone. It's a bit V-shaped and leans Harman tuning, I would say. So yeah, in terms of if you guys are looking for an Audio-Technica headphone that's, you know, reasonably, I think, higher priced, not like their upper end, but this is technically like one of their mid-range headphones, but more expensive, you know, than their beginner entry-level stuff like the M50X that I was familiar with, or the R70X for that matter. Yeah, it's like a little bit more pricey than the stuff that most people are familiar with, and it sounds still really good. Then you can check out the W900. This is like really portable, actually, extraordinarily so for an over-ear. If you look at the size of the ear cups, like, yeah, they fold down like this, which makes them perfect for backpacks and stuff. And they still got like big enough drivers, I think 50 millimeter dynamic drivers, but the ear cups are a size where it's very easy to carry around, and it's very light and comfortable to wear. And yeah, I think, yes, the smaller ear cups does produce a more boxed in sound, and the soundstage isn't quite as good with these ones. But it's closed back anyway, so you're not expecting a large soundstage. Overall, they're actually really well tuned, and I do like the WP900s in general. It's a really fun sounding headphone. I actually compared it to my Dan Clark Nora X's, which are my main closed back headphones. These retail for $900, and honestly, like, these punch above their price. They sound like, yeah, they sound probably as good as my Denon D9200s, which are like $1,600, and yeah, honestly, soundstage on these are terrific. They sound like open back headphones, and also really comfortable too. They technically are portable. You can kind of fold them in like this, but not quite as portable as the WP900s, I would say. But yeah, I compared them. Obviously, the WP900s are not going to come close to the Nora X in soundstage, because the Nora X soundstage is one of the best that you can get in a closeback. But I would say they're not like too far off. Yes, the Nora X is better. Wider soundstage, you know, better resolution and detail across the board. A little bit more balanced in tuning, not quite as V-shaped. This is more like a soft W shape. So you do have slightly elevated bass, slightly pushed up upper mids, and then slightly elevated treble, but overall very balanced. Whereas the WP900 is a little bit more aggressively V-shaped in Harman in its tuning. This probably will satisfy, you know, mainstream people who are used to listening to a lot of those wireless headphones, like the Sony 1000 XM5s and stuff, will probably like these as well. Not to say that it has as much bass as those ones, but it will definitely sound a lot better than a lot of those wireless headphones. And the Nora X will generally just satisfy everyone. I mean, this one will satisfy audiophiles, and it will satisfy mainstream people as well, I think. Although it might be considered lacking in bass to some people. Yeah, so people who are used to the Bose, Sony stuff will probably find this lacking in bass. But the WP900 has a good amount of bass, and doesn't push it up all too much where it masks the mids or drowns out the mids or anything. It actually has quite forward mids, and the soundstage is more intimate sounding than the Nora X, of course. So yeah, overall, I do recommend this for people who are looking for a good sounding, like reasonably pricey and portable Audio-Technica headphones. So you guys are looking to upgrade to a nice headphone around the $500 or $600 mark, and you're looking for something that looks good. It's got this nice flame maple type of finish. It's actually made by the Japanese guitar maker Fujigen. So if it looks like a sunburst guitar, yeah, it's because they use a similar finish. Looks really good. It's really nice and portable and light, and honestly sounds pretty good. Yeah, you can check these out. So I just want to talk about WP900 since I got them again, and kind of revise my reassessment of them. I would probably put this in the B tier in my ranking list. So initially I think I put this in the C tier, but I will move it to B tier because I do think that these headphones are pretty nice for what they are. Once you go up higher from this, Audio-Technica's tunings tend to be a little bit more weird, I would say, more esoteric, and not quite as portable either. But the WP900, yeah, I mean, for the price point, around $650, yeah, you're getting a headphone that's pretty portable for an over-ear. For a full-size headphone, this is actually one of the most portable, especially for a high-end full-size, and pretty light and looks good and tuned fairly well, like close to the mainstream Harman type tuning. And yeah, overall, I think this is going to be a good headphone that most people will enjoy. So yeah, if you guys are looking for a nice Audio-Technica headphone to pick up, try out the WP900s. Not going to say they're going to beat out the Nora X's. They're not. Of course, if you guys are looking for just hands down the best headphone, closed back or open back under $1,000, I will recommend the Nora X still. But for people who are looking for something around 500, 600, and you're looking for something that's small, portable, sounds good, looks good, yeah, check out the WP900. Yeah, I had to revise my reassess this and revise my opinion of it because, yeah, overall these are pretty nice. I do enjoy them a little bit more than before. I did them a disservice by calling them like boxy and tinny sounding, which they're not. Yes, they will be compared to something like this, but on their own, no, they sound absolutely fine. Given the size and everything, they actually sound really good. So yeah, WP900s I think are nicely tuned and very good for the size and cost, and look really nice on top of that. So yeah, that's it, guys. Just want to talk a bit more about the WP900 and kind of reevaluate them again. So I'll have a sound comparison test coming up, so you guys can hear the WP900s again. I'll play a few more test tracks on them and yeah, compare them to a few other closebacks around this price. I think the closest competitors at this price range would be like the Dan Clark Audio Aeon X Closed, I think is a good competitor. That's also another headphone that I recommend for closebacks around that price. And the Fostex TH610s, which I think are really good as well for that price. So yeah, I'll probably do a comparison with those ones, and let me know what you guys think. So I would say the main differences between the Audio-Technica WP900 and the Nora X is this. The WP900 is a bit brighter. Everything's a bit more forward sounding, a little bit more in your face. The bass, a little bit more bass in quantity. Everything sounds a bit more forward, bass, mids, and treble. And soundstage is definitely a bit narrower, and technicalities aren't quite as good. But overall, still good sounding headphone. It's just a different type of tonality, and yeah, technicalities are not up to par with the more expensive Nora X. Now, the Nora X has a warmer tonality. It has a more balanced type of tuning, so it's not quite as aggressive as the the WP900. Things are not as forward. It's a little bit more laid back sounding and relaxed. Yeah, not quite as much in quantity, I would say, in all the frequencies. Yeah, more of a relaxed, laid back listen in general, and better technicalities across the board, wider soundstage, and more detail and resolution. So yeah, that's what I would say are the main differences between the two. Yeah, another difference is that Dan Clark headphones tend to lean warmer in tonality, whereas Japanese headphones like the Denon, Fostex, Audio-Technica headphones tend to lean brighter. So yeah, that's a tonality difference. Depends what you guys prefer, but yeah, I would say that's another difference there. And yeah, these are also made in Japan, just like Audio-Technica's more expensive headphones, so it's not like you're missing out anything in build quality here either. So they're built really well, and they look really good. So, you know, overall, it's a really nice pair of yeah, smaller sized over-ear headphones. I really like it. Oh, also the Denon D5200s I think are another good choice as well. I remember those ones being sort of neutral-ish. Yes, they do have a bit of a veil. Maybe these ones, the WP900s, are a bit more detailed than the D5200s, but the D5200s have more of a neutral bounce type of sound signature compared to the more V-shaped sound signature of the WP900s. TH610, same thing. They're a little bit more balanced, a little bit more neutral. And then the Aeon X Closed has a more balanced W-shaped-ish sound signature. So anyways, I think these are all nice closebacks for the $500 price range. So yeah, anyways, I'll put them all in the sound comparison test coming up. So let me know what you guys think. And as always, thanks for watching.